Are the threat of tariffs working, or is it all just luck? Today, as our coaches celebrate St. Patty's Day, they want to remind you,
luck is still not a plan.
Luck is still not a plan.
All right, grab your favorite mug. It's time for coffee with your retirement coach.
Welcome to a special episode. It is now beer with your retirement coach. And behind the clipboards and the pint glasses, I've got your coaches, Randy and Nic. Guys, how are we doing today?
Hey, doing great.
Dude, you are the tallest leprechaun I've ever seen.
It's kind of it'd be a misnomer, wouldn't it? Hey, listen, today on the episode, we're going to talk about tariffs, right? And we're going to talk about whether or not what we've experienced so far with the threat of tariffs, is it something that is us just riding Irish luck, or is it something that seems calculated and working? When it comes to tariffs, we want to talk about the pros and the cons. So in light of luck, we flipped a coin and we've got team pro and team con, because remember, we're agnostic when it comes to the politics of it, but we want you to know what you might want to expect in the different scenarios. Okay, unveil to our watchers and listeners, who's team pro?
I'm team pro.
Team pro, Nicholas Yeomans, at a great fighting weight and a lot of luck of your own. Thank you for carrying the banner of pro. Team con by default.
Yes, that's correct.
Listen, and we're not saying that you're negative, Randy, at all.
No. I mean, I think in this particular case, it was luck. I'm
luck.
prepared.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. And
let's see how prepared you are.
I've made some notes.
I think you prepared mine also.
So I just want to let you guys.
I did.
You see, a good debater can absolutely come from either side of the argument, and our coaches did work on both sides together. So just kind of work us through it and be as combative as is appropriate.
Combative. Well, Randy, age before beauty. So let you go ahead and start us off. What is the
both
con?
better looking and older?
What is the? You've had a lot of work.
All
All right, but start us off with cons. Let's play this out.
Well, one of the main things that is argued today is that tariffs are going to cause higher prices for consumers. In other words, it's not just going to be the companies that are paying the tariffs, but that's going to be passed all the way down to the consumer. And actually, it's the consumer that's going to be paying the tariffs.
Yeah. So, Randy, I think you hate American business, and let's see who wins, Aaron. So I think that tariffs actually protect domestic industries, and they make imported goods more expensive, helping U.S. businesses compete against cheaper foreign products.
Not true, because actually regulatory tariffs hurt U.S. exports. So other countries often respond with their own tariffs, making it harder for American farmers, manufacturers, businesses to sell goods overseas.
Randy, it's funny that you bring up manufacturing, because I am a fan of the American business mind and having manufacturing back here at home. I think that tariffs encourage domestic manufacturing. Higher import costs push companies to produce goods in the U.S., creating jobs and reducing reliance on foreign supply chains. Let's bring manufacturing back home.
I think you manufactured that yourself. I think you made all that up.
Another point of rating.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Really?
My luck of the Irish right over here. So it harms U.S. businesses because many American companies, they rely on raw materials that come over, and the component parts that we've talked about. We've got all the news about NVIDIA and all the stuff that's going on, concerned about those kind of things. So tariffs increase their costs, making it less competitive globally for the U.S.
I just don't think you know enough about trade deficits, to be honest with you.
There's a deficit?
Because here's the deal. I think that being pro-tariff, that it reduces our trade deficits. Tariffs discourage imports, potentially narrowing the trade deficit by promoting domestic production and reducing reliance on foreign goods.
What you're missing.
That's a point.
What you're missing.
That's a point.
Aaron, Nic.
Don't bring me.
You're Aaron, right? Okay.
It was a good beer, though, wasn't it?
Job losses affect industries. So while tariffs are meant to protect jobs conceptually, they actually cause more job losses than gains. And that depends on trade of manufacturing, agriculture, and retail. So we're going to lose jobs because of tariffs, not gain jobs.
I just think you want a less secure America, to be honest with you, because here's the reality. Tariffs absolutely can strengthen our national security by protecting key industries, steel, semiconductors, and energy. It ensures the U.S. is not overly dependent on foreign nations for critical materials. And that's just going to be hard to beat. That's going to be hard to argue.
Well, I guess you just don't understand supply chains, because global supply chains are complex, Nick. So it's going to be difficult for you to get this, but I'm going to try. Tariffs disrupt these networks, causing delays, inefficiencies, and they force companies to spend more money on alternative resourcing.
And let me go ahead and just spot check you real quick. Did you say terrorist or tariffs? Because I'm pretty sure what you really meant was terrorist. All right, so let's go ahead and go on, because I think that us being small business owners here in the United States, I like supporting other small businesses. I like supporting American businesses. So I think that tariffs, being pro-tariff, it can support American jobs by reducing competition from cheap imports, and tariffs can help keep jobs in industries like manufacturing, steel, and textiles. I mean, God knows, when we had a massive amount of furniture manufacturing coming out of the Carolinas. North Carolina, at the end of the day, that was quality product. I remember getting a furniture set from you and Mom years ago. It was heavy, high quality, so good.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hard to argue that.
So you know what you're missing, though, is the weakened economic growth that tariffs cause. Tariffs reduce trade and economic activity, leading to slower growth and also triggering, very often, recession.
I think that you love higher taxes. That's what I think. I think you want higher taxes because you would rather pay for our government for roads and infrastructure and everything else, because the reality is tariffs are going to boost government revenue. The government collects tariff revenues, which can be used to go towards infrastructure, social programs, and offset our taxes. So I think you are, you might be negative tariffs, but you're definitely pro higher taxes.
You know what I don't think? I don't think you like small businesses, Nick, because where big companies might be able to absorb the cost of these tariffs, the small business owner and the small business can't. So you don't like small business.
You are a small business. Why do you hate
he
small
doesn't
business?
like himself. A lot of people have that problem.
Terrible. That's another point from Randy.
Yeah.
Give it to
Yeah.
me.
All right.
Come on.
Hold on. Beer check.
Beer check.
That's
Thank you,
good.
Glover Park.
Thank you, Glover Park. So, when I do think about economic...
Do you think? Are you thinking right now?
Hey, guys, whoa.
I'm thinking you might be
listen.
sitting a little too close to
We
me.
don't
That's
need a
what
bar
I'm
brawl.
thinking.
We don't need to be like every other St. Patty's Day.
We're Irish for
Yeah,
crying out loud.
I get that. I get
I'm
you're
You're
more
right.
not as
Irish than
Irish
you.
as anybody.
The McDowells run deep. Yes. No.
All right.
Let's go.
All right. So I'm going to suggest that being pro-tariff also promotes economic independence. I want less reliance on foreign goods because it will strengthen the domestic economy and reduce vulnerability to global supply chain like you were just talking about. That's what we're after. That's what we want.
I know you like recessions, but Aaron, stay with me for this one. Basically, if you don't like choices, like if you want to reduce the number of choices that you have, increase tariffs. Because what happens is when imports become more expensive, Americans have less choices. You don't like Americans.
No, actually, I love Americans and I love our country. But here's the reality, and this is going to be the mic drop.
You have no points so far.
That's only because Aaron has bias and you paid him with like 25 cents before we started the episode. Here's the deal.
These
All
are
right,
also expensive microphones imported from Australia, so
you-
please don't drop them because they're about to get more
ready?
expensive.
Are you ready? Here's the deal. Here it is, right here. I've got one after this I can help you with, but here's the deal. If we impose these tariffs, it encourages investment in U.S. businesses.
Does it?
Higher import costs push companies to invest in American workers, factories, and innovation rather than seeking cheap labor abroad. And here is the case in point.
I don't want to hear it.
Apple has just announced the largest commitment of $500 billion right here to the United States. I love
Right
U.S.
here in America?
business, and right here in America, we've got
give him
$500 billion, the largest ever commitment by any business right here in the USA.
Well, we'd have to fact check that, but I get your point. But
you were the one that gave me the article.
Did you just say give Nick a point? All right, I got it.
all right,
Yeah,
so,
that was like 5 points, but go ahead.
So here's the thing: the government
Talk to me.
wants more revenue,
Yeah.
but it's at the consumer's expense. So those are Americans. So the government is getting more revenue, but it's costing the American taxpayer. It's just a way of offsetting. So in reality, people are paying more money. The government's got more revenue, which conceptually lowers the tax, but then they're spending the money on consumer goods
So, Randy,
because tariffs raise the prices of goods that we buy, and they generate revenue for the government, but they take money away from American businesses, therefore Americans consumers.
how much more approximately have you paid for anything in the last 3 months? Approximately.
Beer was free.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glover Park.
Thank you, Glover Park.
Point.
All right, but here's, what is this?
I gave
All
the
right,
point to
so
Kevin.
Here's the deal. Kevin. Oh, thank you, Kevin. So here's going to be case in point. I think that the threat of tariffs alone, it could be used strategically for trade negotiations, which is evident right now. Look at Canada, look at Mexico, look around the world. It is working. Tariffs give the U.S. bargaining power and trade deals, allowing for better terms and protection for American and American workers. The reality is we're tired of having our stuff stolen by other countries around the world and there being no penalties. They're not playing fair, and levying these tariffs help, or the threat of levying these tariffs, it levels the playing field. So,
Okay, so
period.
just so we can set the record straight, half your grandparents are Canadian, so you're picking on Canada. And when you say Canada, you have to say Canada, eh?
Hey.
So otherwise, the Canadian blood flowing through your veins is actually broken, probably due to tariffs. So
That's because I'm a 50-50.
global political consequences of tariffs are real. Trade wars and tariffs strain the diplomatic process. And as a result of that, they break down our relationship with our allies and our trading partners, making America less safe.
Yeah. Randy, I love you so much. I love your passion, and even the paper slam on the table. It was so theatrical. It was so good, so good. But the reality is you're losing. I don't know if you're watching the news, if you're paying attention at all, but it's working. We're getting what we want. I mean, you've got Russia that's come to the table. You've got Ukraine coming to the table.
I don't
You've
think
got
that's
China.
tariffs.
You've got Mexico. You've got Canada.
All right, let's do all right, hold on a minute. I understand where you're going here. Let's talk about the reality. So we're having some fun with tariffs, okay? And in reality, like Trump, hate Trump, we do try to stay agnostic when it comes to stuff like that. But we do have to understand what's really going on. I do believe that the threat of tariffs is probably the ploy here, that we're doing this as a result of negotiation. It's not something a lot of Americans are comfortable with. It's what's going on. It's not good. It's not bad. It is what's happening. As a financial planning company, what we have to do is pay attention to the net result. What's really going to happen? These are all concepts and ideas.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to ask. I think too many people that are caught up on social media, they're leaning like this debate heavy one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's either this is the lucky four-leaf clover we were looking for,
Absolutely.
or it's the false pot of gold.
And here's the reality. I mean, you and I are having fun, right? We're bantering back
I didn't
and
like it
forth.
that much. I wouldn't have that much fun.
Well, I don't know what this was. This was definitely
This was me
some
kicking
illegal
your butt.
It's
what it
illegal
was.
scorekeeping is what that
It's the
was.
first episode you've ever been interested in.
I heard
my
you were
notes.
sad. That's what I heard.
You had a chance to call him your favorite.
But here's
Bringing it back around, though, do you feel like we will land somewhere more in the middle, or like what you were saying?
Let's be honest. We have allies. We have allies that are important trade partners, and we have enemies.
Yeah.
And so how this plays out over time is a little bit probably going to be picking winners and losers in that, or as a negotiating tool to get things done. And I know you were alluding to things that we've seen. The reality is, again, like him, hate him, there is a lot of activity going on. And how that plays out, I don't know. I don't know what the end result is. Here's something important to understand. What happens in the future we're in a situation right now where the market has been up for a long time. The odds are we're going to have a correction sometime in the near future. Whether that near future is 3 years from now or next week, the reality is we're going to see some volatility in the market while these debates are going on. Because the market that we deal in, our clients' retirement accounts, it doesn't like uncertainty. However, our job as an investment firm, as a financial planning firm, is to let those disruptions, let those variations, those variabilities that happen both in tax law, in investments, in markets, we need to use those to our advantage. Our job is to find the opportunities in this chaos. And even though the chaos may be, people may be very passionate as we pretended to be about pro and con of tariffs, the reality is we want to win no matter what. And if you build your team on a pro or a con and something happens, you could be the biggest loser. So what we want to do is navigate this field of change and this chaos to make sure that we and our clients win this battle, regardless of whether there are more or less tariffs and with whom these tariffs are.
Well, and I think that's so good because, I say this all the time, winners win. We find a way, and it doesn't matter what's happening. What we can't do is make a decision or a change to a portfolio or a strategy or something based on what could, would, or should happen. Right. We don't know.
Right.
And I love the term that you coined years ago, fact-based investing.
Right.
I don't care what could happen. Right. What is actually happening? Right. That we can measure.
Right.
That we can make decisions on. And, what our clients are paying us for is not really for our opinions. It is that we take strategic action so that we keep moving the needle forward for them. We just keep pushing and pushing, helping them climb up a mountain. And sometimes that's difficult because we can't control all of the different variables, the change in weather and temperature. We can't change, a rock slide. We can't change things. I mean, God knows we're praying for all the folks devastated in, Los Angeles and all the folks that are still in such a bad way in the Carolinas right now from the hurricane. I mean, at the end of the day, there is so much that we cannot control.
Yes.
But what we can do is pay attention. And we can say, if these are the rules we're given, we can play the game.
We're talking about tariffs today because it's a hot topic.
Sure.
But the reality is we do have a lot of opportunity coming our way. And it could come, again, in the way of variability. We have PE ratios that are through the roof. So the odds are when you have PE ratios that high, price-earnings ratios using the CAPE index,
right,
that we're not going to have a lot of expansion right now until something comes along, which could be tariffs, could be other things that reset that PE ratio. But meanwhile, we might see the market continue to climb, even though these last couple of weeks, and I don't know when people will be listening to this, we've had a lot of variability and a lot of pushback and pullback in the marketplace. There's going to be tax opportunities. There's going to be conversion opportunities from traditional IRA to Roth. There's going to be a lot of opportunities that come along the way in this period of time. But what I'm excited about as a firm is the way we approach this is we look for those things. We're looking for the opportunity. We're not looking at all the dread, all the negative. We took both sides of that argument, but in reality, whatever happens, this fact-based investing is what happens is how we steer. Well, if the wind's blowing, then we make an adjustment in the sales.
Right.
We don't just take it. So that's an advantage of being an independent firm and having a mindset of looking for opportunity when the game changes.
Yeah, oh man, and I love that. I mean, that right there is like a mic drop. I mean, that was solid.
That would be another point, Aaron.
Well, I'm trying to be really nice, but you make it hard. I'm just gonna go ahead and let you
Hey,
say
no
that.
personal comments.
But
get another point.
What? Give them all the points. I don't care. Winners win. I'll win anyway.
Quitter. He's a quitter.
I'll win anyway. But when I do think about what is going on right now in the world today, with so much there's so much opinion out there.
Yeah.
And what I think really happens, Randy, is people find what they're looking for.
They do.
To justify, whatever their stance is.
Can I stop you there, Nick, for a minute? It's not that people just find what they're looking for. The way technology is set up today is technology finds what you're looking for. A matter of fact, I can't speak on this from a knowledge standpoint, but what little bit I have read is if you particularly look for something, you're going to see more evidence of that. Now, that's true in the natural way of things, like why some people walk through life with a cloud over them no matter what's going on, and other people can have the worst things happen to them and they seem to be upbeat and cheerful. But now technology is actually following you around and feeding you negativity or positivity or this belief or this political opinion or that. And what we have to do with this idea of fact-based investing is remove all of that and look at where the opportunity is, regardless of where it comes from. So
well, and that's not just the markets, Randy. I mean, that is with, as you were talking about, taxes. I mean, at the end of this year, 2025, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is set to expire. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of proposals out there right now floating around, but we're going to continue to see. I mean, your family dynamics will change, your life changes, health changes.
Health can change. Absolutely.
I mean, there's so much change. I mean, my big takeaway here though is, who's your advocate? Right. Who do you have in your corner? Right. Who is the captain that is on your boat that's really helping you navigate during storms? I love this analogy. Somebody years and years ago shared this with me. He said, there's one thing in common when you've got a sailboat, when you've got a bass fishing boat, and you've got a yacht. He said, the cool thing is they're all meant for water. But you're not going to put a yacht down the river. You're not necessarily going to take, that sailboat and put it in rapids, right? So you have different boats for different climates, different types of water, and different types of season. But you need sometimes somebody to help you understand when it's time to change the vessel, when it's time to change, what you're riding in to get down the river, or to, if it's sunny skies and the wind is blowing and letting the sails out. Man, that is a magical, incredible experience. But you're going to miss it if you're sitting in the bass boat. Right. And so having that right person in your corner, helping you identify those opportunities to make those changes, I think is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think you just offended a lot of people who own a bass boat, but that's just my opinion.
I think it's still a lot.
Yeah.
It makes me think, years ago, I really started wanting to take my yard seriously. And I got out there and I'm cutting it every other Saturday. I'm watering it and trying to do the things that I think are appropriate. And it just didn't look like my neighbor's yard. Luckily, I went to a high school with a guy over at Harrison that he went on, and he's got this fantastic lawn business. And we're hanging out one day, and I'm like, what kind of grass does he have? And he looks over, and he looks at me, and he smiles, and he goes, the same as you. And I'm like, no, for real, what kind of grass does he have? He's like, no, it's exactly the same that you have. And I'm like, yeah, but his looks better. And he goes, well, what kind of stuff? I said, dude, when this stuff starts growing, I'm cutting it, and I'm trying to get this high, and I'm watering. And he goes, well, what do you do in the off season? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that guy, every season throughout the entire year, he's doing different things, but he's got stuff that's going on. He said, you're at work during the day because you don't see it. But he said, this is what we could do. And he set me up on a program where throughout the year, we were doing different things to prep for the summertime. And within 2 years, my yard looked amazing.
Now you're bragging, but I want to tell you, I think you're really onto something. Because if we would look at what's happening right now as if it is the seasons, we are in a certain season, and what we can't be is faked out by what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Because we might be in winter, even though it's 72 degrees out there today.
Yeah.
In reality, in the near future, we're going to be in spring. Yeah. So when we're in winter, we've got to be thinking summer. When we're in summer, we've got to be thinking winter.
Right.
And we've got to do that with our finances, our health, and relationships,
and
money.
taxes.
Well,
and taxes. And let's think about this. No one wants to do anything when everything's working right. Yeah. You're not preparing for anything. So taxes being so low right now, hey, aren't I lucky? I just retired. Great. I'm lucky. I retired in low tax brackets. Yeah. Let me tell you, change comes. What are you strategically doing to prepare for that change and that change in seasons? And I love that because, roughly 4 times in U.S. tax history, the highest rates have been as low as they are today.
Yeah.
So enjoy that, take advantage of it, but be mindful that there's probably going to be a change in tax rates, and that might not be to your favor. Right.
And having that professional that helps you recognize the season. You and I heard recently about the advisor. They were at a firm where they had recommended stocks. So it was more of an equities, structure, individual equities. Well, something they had recommended turned into absolute dogs, and there were big losses. Well, when presented with the idea of, isn't that terrible? Doesn't that stink? He goes, no, guess what? I am an absolute expert in loss gain harvesting. And now's the time for loss harvesting. Let's go, boy. Yeah. And the thing about it is we need those professionals in our lives to help us to realize.
And that's true in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely. We can't control all this. Right. We can't control the tariffs. We can't control counter tariffs. But when the rubber hits the road, we need to have the right people around us to say, well, Randy, this is what that means for you. And this is what we need to be doing for your household.
You know what? I'm feeling lucky.
You should be.
I feel thankful too. Yeah. Can we give a little shout out to our friends?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've had a lot of our watchers and listeners. They've picked up on the fact that we try to incorporate local Marietta on the table every week. You'll notice the mugs and the coffee, that kind of stuff. This week being St. Patrick's Day themed, our friends, our neighbors at the Glover Park Brewery said, What do you want for the table? No, you're not buying it. They hooked us up. They took care of us. We appreciate you guys so much. A lot of great business is done next door, as well as in our building. But thank you so much, Glover Park. And with that, we want to thank you for being here today for our discussions on tariffs. You might not feel lucky in the situation, but regardless of your situation, we want you to seek wise counsel. We want you to talk to the CPAs, the attorneys, your gurus, your financial professionals. Make sure that you've got in place a plan that works for you and your family. If you've got a question for our coaches, we'd love for you to email us at connect@yourretirementcoach.com. And guys, you good with that?
Yeah.
We're good.
All right. Well, hey, glasses raised. Thanks for being coachable.
We hope you enjoyed today's show, but you may have questions for our coaches, and they can be emailed at connect@yourretirementcoach.com. If you know someone that needs to hear this episode, we encourage you to share it. As a reminder, the content of this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as advice. On behalf of our coaches, we want to thank you for listening and for being coachable.
Yeoman's Consulting Group, a registered investment advisor YouTube channel based in Marietta, Georgia. We strive to provide comprehensive wealth management services for every stage of the journey. This platform is solely for informational purposes and is not offering advisory services or sales of securities. Investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Comments by viewers or recognitions are no guarantee of future investment outcomes and do not ensure that a viewer will experience a higher level of performance or results. Public comments posted on this site are not selected, amended, deleted, or sorted in any way. If applicable, certain editing of personal, identifiable information and misinformation may be deleted. The opinions expressed herein are as of the date of publication and are subject to revision due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. This podcast was filmed at Podium Studios at Marietta Square. Grow your business with turnkey, professional quality podcasting, live streaming, and online events. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about anything. Just come in and record. Learn more at thepodium.studio. Step up to the podium.